Welcome back. I'm Mel. I'm so glad you're here with me. We're talking to Harvard's Dr. Chris Palmer. And right before the break, Dr. Palmer was outlining the fact that there are all different types of options when you're dealing with a neurodivergent condition like ADHD. And one of the things that he said, before you jump to medication, consider his metabolic theory and use diet and lifestyle changes as a way to improve neurodivergent symptoms that people feel from conditions like ADHD. Now, I was all in that moment, and I wanted him to break down, okay, well, great, happy to try that, glad I know about this, but where do we start? Like, how do we get going on this? So let's jump right back into the conversation and listen to Dr. Palmer break down exactly what he means when he says improving your diet and lifestyle choices.
Let's do a common sense assessment of some basic lifestyle factors. Let's look at diet. Is the person eating mostly processed foods? Is the person getting adequate nutrition? So that means adequate vitamins, minerals, other nutrients, adequate protein. Is that happening? Yes or no? Like you said, there can be lots of reasons. Picky eater, upset stomach, I get it. I can hear all those questions, but if those things are not happening, if person is not getting adequate, healthy nutrition, that needs to be on the table as one possible intervention of something that we might want to look at to address.
I think it's even more important than that, because I have never been in a psychiatrist, psychologist, neuropsych evaluation, therapist's office where the first thing that somebody asks is, well, what are you eating and how much exercise are you getting? And there's typically a question about screen time at the end and to kind of limit it, but not from a metabolic standpoint. The conversation is always like, how do you feel? What are you thinking about? What do you want to talk about today? And you're talking about physical changes in your lifestyle that have a direct research-backed impact on your brain's metabolism, which impacts ADHD and anything that's neurodivergent.
Yes, that what we're eating is affecting the way your brain functions, which may in fact be playing a role in what you're thinking, how pessimistic or how optimistic you are, whether you have crippling depression or anxiety, or whether you have mild depression or anxiety, or whether you have mild concentration problems or not, or whether you're happy and healthy. And that we need comprehensive human health care. We need to look at the whole person, and we need to understand that what they're putting into their mouth and whether they're sleeping at night and whether they're on screens, what they're doing affects their brain too.
This makes so much sense because we know it in the opposite, right? Like if I come home from a stressful week of work and I make a beeline for like one of those burgers, you know, that you need both hands to hold. And as you squeeze it in on the brioche bun, it starts dripping grease down your arms. I'm like, and I'm eating the fries and then I slug it down with a beer. What do I feel like after that? I feel like a human Jabba the Hutt. I just want to slither down into my chair. I am low energy, laying there. And the thing that I put in my mouth absolutely changes the energy in my body and the way that my brain is functioning. And so from a common sense standpoint, this makes perfect sense.
So depends on the person, and different people are going to do better with different diets. I just want to say that up front.
Okay.
I also want to be respectful of people's dietary preferences and choices. So if you want to be vegan or vegetarian or omnivore or whatever, you can do that. However, there are some common themes. So if you have a child with very severe kind of neurodiversity that's really interfering with life, if maybe they have ADHD and they're a little bit on the spectrum and they've got some learning disorder issues and other things, you know, one thing to consider would be an elimination diet. There are lots of different types, but elimination diets are basically looking for food sensitivities. So is this person in front of us Is their brain function being impacted by the gut-brain connection? That's really the question we're asking. More and more research is telling us, yes, there is a very strong bidirectional relationship between the gut and the brain. So the brain impacts the gut impacts the brain. And that means if you're eating food like gluten and you're allergic to it, it's inflaming your gut. And that is traveling up to the brain. That message, at least, is getting up to the brain and influencing your brain function. And that might result in ADHD or other neurodivergent symptoms.
I just want to be clear that I'm tracking. You're basically saying that if you have a child with ADHD, or even if you are an adult that suspects that this could be you, simply trying an elimination diet, that by removing certain food groups and seeing how you respond from a metabolism standpoint, you could see a dramatic reduction in mental health symptoms or focus symptoms, because your thesis and all your research is that anything that your body is processing, it is either going to be good energy or it could really interfere with the energy that your brain needs. And when that happens, you start to have these symptoms of being neurodivergent. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So if you are allergic to gluten and you're eating gluten, it could cause ADHD symptoms. It could cause anxiety. It could cause you to feel depressed. And simply figuring that out could actually alleviate those symptoms.
100%.
That's insane.
There are thousands and thousands and thousands of people like that.
You know what I love about you and your research? Because I'm just really getting this now that we are in part 2 of this series, is that we've been thinking about food in the wrong way. Like when I think about friends that have allergies, you think about allergy because you swell or you itch or your neck swells. You're actually saying that same crap is happening in your brain.
Yes.
Of course it is. And that's causing you to be anxious. And so think about sensitivity to food and the way that your body can't really metabolize it as affecting absolutely everything, but especially that thing between your ears that is the conductor for your entire life, that it is swelling because of it, it is misfiring because of it. And so starting with an elimination diet would be revelatory in terms of what you might discover about how you feel.
Yes. And for most people, it's a big ask. An elimination diet is not easy, depending on how many things you're going to eliminate, what you're going to do. But for most people, they can figure it out within about 2 weeks. So if you eliminate a wide range of foods over 2 weeks, and there are some classic ones, gluten, some people are sensitive to dairy, other people might be sensitive to soy,
Sugar.
Some people can be sensitive to artificial dyes and sweeteners and other things. So if you go with a Whole30 kind of diet or something else that's going to eliminate a lot of those types of foods,
Yep.
and you give it 2 weeks, if you notice dramatic improvement in your brain function, now you've got a little bit of a project on your hands. And now you have to figure out, what exactly am I sensitive to? Because you're probably not sensitive to all of it. And you want to come up with the least restrictive, most fun, easy diet to do. So you want to really try to see, can I zero in? Can I add some of these foods back? And as you're adding those foods back, you're really paying attention to the brain symptoms to see, am I getting worse? Are things coming back? And if symptoms are coming back when you add back gluten, then you know, okay, gluten was it. And maybe I would do better with a gluten-free diet. If you don't want to do an elimination diet, or if an elimination diet doesn't necessarily tell you what you want to know or doesn't give you the symptoms, higher protein, lower carbohydrate, sticking primarily with whole, real foods more than you normally do.
What I'm hearing is chicken cutlets, not chicken nuggets, for all you moms and dads out there.
Absolutely. A lot of people will notice significant benefit. And I would give that probably at least a month. Give it a month. See if it makes a difference. If it doesn't make a difference, don't keep doing it. I'm not asking people to make sacrifices with no clear return on investment.
Well, what's interesting about when this episode is releasing is we're going to be in the middle of dry January. And you may be listening to this at an entirely different time of year, but you will have had experiences in your life where you go without drinking for a period of time, or you go without gluten for a period of time. But if you're listening to this and you're in the middle of dry January and you're having that experience where you're like, oh my God, I removed alcohol and I sleep better and I'm more focused and I have more energy. And maybe this is a really good thing for me to just continue doing this. This is exactly what you're saying, that your metabolism is 100% driven by what you eat, what you drink, whether or not you exercise, whether or not you are on screens or getting connection, and what your sleep is like. And when you improve those things, your metabolism improves. And what you're also saying is, so does your ADHD.
Yes.
So does dyslexia. So does a bazillion other things in your life.
Yes.
Is there a form of exercise that's better than another in terms of your metabolism?
So the two best strategies are to increase muscle.
Yep.
The more muscle we have, the more metabolically healthy we will be. Now, I know sometimes women balk at that and they think I'm encouraging them to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I am not. I'm just saying just a little bit of healthy muscle tone can go a long way.
And can I be honest about something? If you already are not exercising enough, you are likely not going to exercise enough to bulk up and have the neck of a weightlifter. So like if you can just get your butt to the gym 3 days a week, like Dr. Gabrielle Lyons was on our show, and start doing some resistance training, you're going to win.
You are. And to quote one of my male friends, speaking to women who are afraid that they're going to get too big, he said, do you know how hard men have to work to try to get just even a little bit of extra muscle? Do you know how much time and energy we put into that? Trust me, you are not going to just bulk up out of nowhere by accident. So it's just not going to happen. The other type of exercise I would highly recommend is called Zone 2 cardio. So it's basically a lower intensity cardio that you can do for maybe a half an hour to an hour.
I think I've heard David Goggins talking about this. This is like the light jog where you can hold a conversation. I mean, I would not be able to do that for a city block, but that's kind of what a zone 2 is, right? That
Yes.
You're kind of elevated heart rate, but you're not.
Yes,
Okay.
Not out of breath. You can still have a conversation.
Hiking would be an example of that for me.
It could be hiking. It could be cycling. It can be swimming. There are lots of options, many options for Zone 2 cardio, but both of those will improve metabolic health, mitochondrial health. And then reducing substance use. So if you are on substances that are impairing your metabolism, please cut down or stop. So that includes things like alcohol. It includes marijuana. I'm sorry to rain on everyone's parade. Everybody loves marijuana these days. It's legal. It is not good for your brain health. It's not good for your metabolic health. If somebody's on psychiatric medications even that are causing weight gain, those might be working against you over the long run. So trying to think of strategies to slowly but surely get off those substances. Smoking, vaping, absolutely not good for you.
What final thing do you want to say, Dr. Palmer, to somebody who's listening? And this is all a little overwhelming, but also there's some hope here.
The great news is that most people can see dramatic improvement with those basic, simple steps that you just outlined. And so the overwhelming majority of your listeners, if they do that, they're going to notice dramatic improvements. Not everyone will, because there are some people who have more complex conditions, infection leading to chronic inflammation that may need a different treatment strategy or a more sophisticated treatment strategy. And what I'm here to say to those people is please don't give up. That if you learn this science, if you understand the general framework and the general principles, I am convinced we can help the overwhelming majority of people heal and recover from neurodivergence, kind of conditions, from what we call mental illness, the DSM-5 mental disorders, that most of those things are in fact treatable, and that we can help people heal and recover and live better lives. So if a woman comes to me and she's got obesity and type 2 diabetes and some symptoms of heart disease, and she's got polycystic ovary syndrome, and she's got fatty liver disease.
It sounds like she's about to die.
It sounds like she's about to die.
Because that sounds like a lot.
But one comprehensive lifestyle strategy of diet, exercise, good sleep, stress reduction, get rid of toxic substances. Like if she's a smoker, if we do all of those things, guess what? It's going to address all of them at the same time. I don't need different pills for each of those conditions. I don't need different treatments for each of those conditions. And guess what else?
Tell me.
If she also has depression and ADHD at the same time that she's got all of those things, if I help her effectively implement lifestyle strategies that help her begin to improve her metabolic health, I can almost guarantee you she's going to say, wow, I feel so much better. My brain is functioning better. I'm more positive. And everybody's going to dismiss it. They're going to dismiss it and say, well, she just feels better because she's losing a little weight. And it's psychological. And what I'm going to say is, no, it is not psychological. It is biological. Her biology is changing. We are improving her metabolism, and that is improving her brain function. And it is not trivial. We should not dismiss it. We should not think that these are light woo-woo interventions. These are serious interventions for serious health conditions that jeopardize people's lives. And they also impact people's brain function, which impacts whether people are happy and healthy and thriving.
Dr. Palmer, you're the best. Where were you 30 years ago when I needed you? No, I'm just kidding. You're here now. And we are grateful that you're here now.
Thank you, Mel, for having me.